Game once again is on, but I'm here and this is something special. We have a show called the Dove Connect where we are going to talk about the WNBA. And I'm here with this beautiful person. Follow her at Jackie Ray TV. She is an incredible journalist. She works for the Long Beach Post, but she also covers the LA Sparks. So she does a great job with that, the fumble, all those things. So covers the Sparks. We're going to talk about the Sparks every week. But as I said, we're going to talk about the W as a whole also. So before we get started, Jackie, tell the people how you are doing.
I'm doing good. I'm excited for our very first show. We've been talking about this and we've got plenty of time. Lots of basketball still left to be played. So it's a perfect time to start this. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So as I said, Connect Game, we are about to drop some technology on this track. You know what your boy says. Once again, it's on. So we're going to talk about the W again. You know that I love the W. Of course, Jackie loves the W as well. I mentioned that she covers the LA Sparks. So when we talk about the W, our first segment all the time will be Sparks centric. Again, follow her at Jackie Ray TV so you can get all of that Sparks coverage from a unique perspective as well. So let's get into it. What do you think about what's been going on with the Sparks as we're about to enter their sixth game of the year? They're 2-3 right now. Let's get some of your perspective.
I think it's interesting because this is my first season covering the Sparks. So obviously with the addition of Liz Cambage, I was super excited and I thought that was going to immediately change the landscape. Coach Derek Fisher talks a lot about chemistry and that makes sense. Obviously, if anyone's ever played a competitive sport and you get new teammates and things move around, you know, it takes a moment to click. I think the thing that bothers me the most, though, is that chemistry is not a problem in the second half. They're starting extremely flat the first half. Nobody seems to know what they're doing. And then we see them all of a sudden come to life in the second half, but now they're fighting this uphill battle. So this chemistry argument that they're giving me doesn't necessarily make sense.
It's interesting when you watch them play. And I know we've talked offline about their chemistry issues and getting off to those starts. And sometimes, as you said, especially when you're in the professional ranks, if you let a team get too far out in front of you and then you're trying to track them down, that's hard. That's very, very hard. And in fairness to them, I know they started on the road.
Right.
They started out of the gates. I think they played their first 3 or 4 games on the road.
Their first 4 were gone. So they were 10 days just away from home. And then they got 1 game here and then they were back out on the road. And then they'll be back in LA on Wednesday. So I get how difficult that is. They've talked a lot about the lack of practice that they've actually had together. Again, all that makes sense to me at face value. And if they were struggling through the entire game, I could be like, yeah, this is what's happening. They're all kind of looking forward to that stretch where they have, I think, 4 or 5 games at home at one time. But you got to win on the road. This is not going to work out if you can't pull out some wins on the road. So I'm not entirely sure what the thought process is on this one.
Well, let me ask you this. What are some of the encouraging signs that you see in those starts, right? I know we have a lot of encouraging signs in the second half when they are making their runs and getting back into games, sometimes taking leads as well. What are some of the things in the starts that they can kind of build on and try? Let's take this, put it in a bottle and kind of sprinkle it throughout our entire start. So, you know, I know we know all the positive things in the second half, but what are some of the things that you see from the start that they can use?
I do like the chemistry between Nneka and Liz. That is great because Liz, unfortunately, because of her size, I think she gets in foul trouble a lot and it's frustrating to her. It's visibly frustrating to her. But the communication between her and Nneka is a beautiful thing. You can tell that chemistry is not an issue. And I think if those two can fire on all cylinders out the gate and continue to build on the chemistry that I already see them building on, then perhaps we can turn this corner. But you know, again, it's just one of those things where they have flashes of greatness, but then they fizzle out. And then all of a sudden that intensity is just there. So whatever locker room talk they're having at halftime, I need them to have that at the beginning of the game.
No question, right? And in that game, you're getting that hashtag RTO, real talk only. Jackie Ray is right there seeing this in person. watching this team as they try to build on some of those positive things that we see in the second half and try and make those things translate to wins. How has Jordan Canada been? I'm very interested in this. I'm a Sparks fan, of course, also have Southern California roots. She is back at the crib, right? So what do you think being back in LA, also running her own team, because she got great experience in Seattle, backing up the great Sue Bird, being on championship teams, all of those things. What do you think she has shown from a positive standpoint as the starting point guard for the Sparks and being back home?
Yeah, I think she's very happy to be in LA. And I think that shows every time she steps on the court. She's excited to be here and she knows her role. She is not afraid of adversity in any way. And she's ready to lead the team. And I think that's a beautiful thing for her. And I'm waiting for, it's not like the Sparks don't have these pieces. Like you said, Jordan Canada is here. She's excited to be here. She does her job well at times. Obviously, there's some mishaps here and there, but you can see these flashes of greatness in each and every individual. And I am so excited to see them actually gel, because when you take a step back and you look at the talent of everybody on this team, the record should not be what it is. So I'm excited to see when they kind of cross over that hump. But I will say this, every single person that I've talked to, as far as the Sparks, their morale is a little down right now, which is expected, right? Because you're on this losing streak. But as far as the excitement and the joy of what they see the potential in, they all have that. They are all very excited. They all speak very, very highly of each other. So it's coming. I don't know when it's going to get there, but Jordan Canada specifically, I love the way she leads the team and she stepped right into that role and she's excited about it. So she's going to be a force to reckon with as well, as soon as they turn that corner.
No, I'm very excited to see her continue to mature and continue to develop as the starting point guard for a team. I tweeted out I think it was during the bubble, and the wubble, and Seabird was hurt. And I said, man, I can't wait to see Jordan Canada run her own team.
Yes.
And here she is. And so as another point guard, one point guard to another one, I'm very excited to see her continue to grow in that role, continue to really place her fingerprints on the team from a leadership standpoint. I know one player that I like a lot. I love players that play with intensity. I love players that defend. And I know watching some of the pregame and postgame interviews that you've done with Coach Fisher, he talks about Brittany Sykes a lot. Intensity, defense, I love that. So who are some of the other players that you see sort of following her lead? Because I remember in particular, there was one interview when he said, Brittany can't be the only person that's defending.
Right.
Or at least the only person that's bringing that defensive energy. So who are some of the players, especially on the perimeter, that you see that are kind of defensive minded and take that lead from Brittany?
I think Brittany definitely does lead that charge. She's the most aggressive as far as defense on the floor. One of the people that I need to step up defensively is Liz. And I understand why she doesn't. I think there's a very obvious fear of getting into foul trouble that I see in her, especially after her. Yeah, they definitely target her. But she also gets flustered. You know what I mean? You know, she gets some of these calls that anybody else who is 2 inches smaller is probably not going to get. So she's getting these calls and it flusters her. But at the same time, you're 6'8", you know what I mean? So if you got to take these fouls to get us that lead at the first half, that's what you have to do. And your rebounding should be off the charts. You know what I mean? You big as hell, just get down there and get the rebound, get that defensive rebound, you know, and there's a lot of second chance points. There's a lot of defensive rebounds. They did okay rebounding the last game, but that has been continually a problem. So everyone needs to step up. I'm going to go off on a tangent here and say one name that hasn't been in rotation that I'm a little disappointed to see that she hasn't been in rotation. That's Amy Atwell. This young lady comes out at 100 miles an hour all the time. And I understand that, you know, she's had very short, very limited play time, you know, like 7 minutes here. I think she had 10 minutes 2 games ago.
Hard to get a rhythm.
It's very hard to get a rhythm, but trust me when I tell you, when I see this young lady play, when I see how focused she is, if she could get more time, she's going to be effective on both sides of the ball. And I'm disappointed that we've not shaken that up. I actually spoke to Derek Fisher about that. And I said, what is the plan here? And he said, I'm in conversations with Amy. You don't talk to a ball player about playing. You let them play, you know? So
let them get out there and rock,
let them get
right?
out there and play, yeah.